In the autumn of 1944, amid the tumultuous backdrop of World War II, the American heartland became a temporary home to an unexpected group of visitors, German prisoners of war, POWs. These men, once soldiers of the Wehrmacht, found themselves far from the battlefields of Europe, housed in various camps across the United States. One such camp was Camp Algona, situated in the quiet rural expanses of Kossuth County, Iowa. Operational from 1944 to 1946, Camp Algona could hold approximately 3,000 prisoners at its peak, guarded round the clock by units of the U.S. Army's military police. It was part of a larger network of over 500 camps scattered throughout the country, all established to address labor shortages caused by the war effort. Camp Algona's layout was characteristic of many POW camps of the era. The camp was encircled by barbed wire, with watchtowers strategically positioned to oversee the grounds. The POWs were housed in barracks that, while Spartan, provided the basic necessities. Each barrack was equipped with bunks, storage for personal items, and a heating system vital for the harsh Iowa winters. The camp also included a mess hall where meals were prepared and served, recreational areas for sports and leisure activities, and a small infirmary that ensured medical care was available for those in need. A notable feature of Camp Algona was its proximity to vast agricultural complexes, which presented a unique opportunity for the prisoners to engage in agricultural labor. This was a stark contrast to the urban and industrial settings many of them had known back in Germany. According to records from War Department circulars and U.S. Army Provost Marshal General reports, employing POWs in agricultural labor was a strategic decision aimed at supplementing the American workforce. The war had siphoned off a significant portion of the domestic labor pool, leaving farms in dire need of hands to work the fields. Transportation logs from the period detail the meticulous planning involved in moving the prisoners to farms and agricultural complexes. The POWs were often transported by rail, a process that required strict security measures to ensure both the safety of the prisoners and the surrounding communities. Upon arrival at the farms, the German POWs were met with a vision of agriculture that was far removed from their expectations. Instead of the manual labor involving horses and simple tools that they had anticipated, they encountered an agricultural landscape dominated by mechanization. Tractors, combine harvesters, and advanced irrigation systems were a common sight, embodying the technological prowess of American agriculture. Farmers who employed these POWs explained that such machinery was standard, often acquired through credit systems and cooperatives that made it accessible even to smaller farms. Agricultural labor contracts outlined the expectations and wages for the prisoners, who earned a nominal amount that was deposited into camp accounts. This remuneration, while modest, was an essential part of the economic ecosystem during the war, sustaining the local economy and providing the POWs with a sense of purpose amidst their captivity. Red Cross inspections and camp newspapers from the period offer a glimpse into the daily lives of the prisoners. The POWs received food rations that adhered to international standards and were sometimes supplemented with fresh produce from the fields they worked. Coupons and rationing policies ensured that resources were allocated fairly, reflecting the broader wartime effort to maintain stability and fairness amidst scarcity. The presence of German POWs in rural Iowa elicited mixed reactions from the local population. While some civilians viewed the prisoners with suspicion or resentment, fearing potential security threats, others recognized them as a vital workforce contributing to the wartime economy. Anecdotal records from the time recount instances of fraternization between POWs and locals, leading to a range of responses from both the community and military authorities. These interactions, though sometimes controversial, highlighted the complex dynamics of human relationships, even in times of conflict. Discipline within Camp Algona was maintained through a combination of strict regulations and incentives. Medical care was provided to ensure that prisoners received treatment comparable to that of American soldiers. Educational programs and recreational activities, often organized by the YMCA, offered the prisoners opportunities for personal development and leisure, fostering a semblance of normalcy amidst the backdrop of war. As the war drew to a close, directives for post-war repatriation and re-education programs were formulated. These initiatives aimed to prepare the POWs for reintegration into civilian life in a post-Nazi Germany. Rather than direct confrontation, the ideological dismantling of wartime beliefs occurred subtly through exposure to American systems and environments. This exposure offered the POWs insights into democracy, industrialization, and the cultural values that characterized American society. For the German POWs, particularly those from agrarian backgrounds like Bavaria, the encounter with American mechanized agriculture was more than a cultural shock. It was a revelation. It highlighted the fundamental differences between two civilizations, one driven by industrial efficiency and the other steeped in traditional agrarian practices. The environments and systems alone illustrated a profound shift in the understanding of agriculture and labor. As the prisoners navigated a world where the industrialization of food production was not merely a technique, but a defining characteristic of American society. At the end of each workday, as the POWs returned to Camp Algona, they carried with them an awareness of the vast technological gulf that separated their homeland's practices from those of their captors. The experience at Camp Algona and the surrounding farms was a silent testament to the broader transformations wrought by the war and the enduring impact of industrialization on global agriculture. Through their labor, the POWs not only contributed to the wartime economy, but also witnessed firsthand the inexorable march of progress that would come to define the post-war world. In the crisp, cool air of the autumn of 1944, as the leaves turned golden and the days grew shorter, a group of German prisoners of war found themselves in a place both strange and fascinating, Camp Algona, in the heartland of Iowa. For many of these men, the experience was a stark departure from everything they had known back in Germany. Among the prisoners was a young man from Bavaria, the son of a farmer, whose life thus far had been intricately woven with the cyclical patterns of nature and the demanding yet rewarding toil of manual labor. The world he found himself in now was one of vast American fields and a distinctly different kind of agriculture, one that was defined by its mechanized efficiency and industrial prowess. Each day, the prisoners were transported from their barracks to various farms scattered across the Iowa countryside. As they traveled, they were greeted by an expansive landscape that seemed almost endless. Fields of corn and soybeans stretched out to meet the horizon, a sight that was both mesmerizing and intimidating. These fields, unlike those back home where men and horses labored side by side, were dominated by powerful tractors and combine harvesters. The machines moved across the land with a precision and ease that was utterly foreign to the POWs. The farm they were assigned to was run by a man whose demeanor reflected years of hard work and pragmatic problem-solving. He was industrious, a true master of his domain, and he took it upon himself to introduce the POWs to the intricacies of his operation. He explained how his farm functioned, the importance of agricultural cooperatives, and the critical role of credit in acquiring the necessary machinery that drove his success. This was a system built on the American ethos of innovation and progress, underpinned by financial structures that supported the ongoing modernization of agriculture. For the Bavarian prisoner, who had grown up within the constraints of a subsistence economy where every seed and tool was a precious commodity, this was a revelation. The idea that an agricultural enterprise could be so deeply tied to financial systems and machinery was a profound realization, one that forced him to introspect and reconsider his understanding of farming. As they worked alongside these formidable machines, the POWs could not help but marvel at the seamless integration of technology and labor. The efficiency with which crops were harvested, sorted, and stored was nothing short of remarkable. Massive silos, towering over the landscape, became symbols of American agricultural might. These structures, capable of holding vast quantities of grain, were in stark contrast to the smaller, more modest storage solutions found in Germany, where family-run farms were the norm and resources were limited. The experience was enlightening, yet disconcerting for the POWs. The reality of mechanized farming stood in stark contrast to their expectations of manual labor, highlighting the broader industrial transformations that were unfolding across the globe during the war. The American approach to agriculture was not only more efficient, but also emblematic of a different civilization, one that embraced technology and economic structures in ways that were still emerging in Europe. Interactions between the POWs and the local farmers were carefully regulated by military authorities, ensuring that all exchanges remained strictly professional. Despite these constraints, the interactions offered the prisoners a window into American life, which was characterized by a relentless focus on productivity and innovation. In return, the POWs shared anecdotes of their own lives, painting pictures of the traditional farming methods they had known in Germany. Over time, the initial astonishment of the POWs gave way to a deeper understanding and appreciation of the machinery and methods employed by the American farmers. They began to learn the intricacies of operating the machinery, appreciating the precision and skill involved. This exposure not only broadened their perspectives, but also highlighted the technological gap that existed between the two nations, a gap that underscored the cultural and economic divides of the era. The presence of the POWs in rural Iowa was not without its challenges. There were moments of tension between the prisoners and the local population, fueled by the broader context of the war. However, the pragmatic necessity of agricultural labor forged a space for cooperation, even if it was under the watchful eyes of the camp authorities. The economic contributions of the POWs did not go unnoticed, and over time they were increasingly recognized by the local communities as an essential part of the wartime labor force. Within the confines of the camp, the POWs were afforded a degree of autonomy. Educational programs were introduced, designed to prepare them for eventual repatriation and reintegration into civilian life. These programs aimed to provide practical skills while also facilitating ideological re-education, reflecting the broader Allied objectives of post-war reconstruction and the dismantling of Nazi influence. The experiences of the German POWs in Camp Algona and the surrounding farms left a lasting impact on both the prisoners and the local communities. For the POWs, exposure to American agricultural practices was transformative. It challenged their preconceived notions and offered new perspectives on the roles of technology and industry in shaping modern life. The Bavarian prisoner in particular realized that Germany was engaged not only in a military conflict, but also in an ideological struggle against industrial progress. As autumn waned and winter approached, the POWs continued their work, contributing to the harvest while gaining a deeper understanding of the industrialized agriculture that characterized the American landscape. This realization that their traditional, labor-intensive farming methods were being eclipsed by mechanized efficiency was a poignant reminder of the broader implications of the war. The cultural and technological divides they encountered would shape their perspectives long after the war ended. The legacy of the German POWs' experiences in Iowa would endure, influencing their personal lives and contributing to the broader narrative of post-war reconstruction. The technological advancements they witnessed, coupled with the ideological shifts facilitated by re-education programs, would play a crucial role in their reintegration into a rapidly changing Europe. Meanwhile, the local communities, having navigated the challenges and opportunities presented by the presence of the POWs, would continue to reflect on the broader implications of industrial agriculture and the war's impact on rural life. Ultimately, the story of the German POWs in Camp Algona was one of cultural exchange and adaptation, set against the backdrop of a world in transition. It was a story that highlighted the complexities of war and the enduring power of human resilience and ingenuity in the face of profound change. The experiences of these prisoners, as they navigated the intersection of tradition and modernity, remain a testament to the transformative power of technology and the enduring quest for understanding in a rapidly evolving world. Their journey through the American heartland was not just about labor and survival, but about learning and redefining their place in a new global order, forever altering their vision of what was possible in the post-war era. As the German POWs settled into their new environment at Camp Algona, the stark contrast between their expectations and the reality of American agriculture became increasingly apparent. The camp itself, with its orderly rows of barracks and fenced perimeters, was designed to maintain a semblance of military discipline while allowing for the integration of prisoners into the local workforce. Despite their initial apprehension, the POWs were gradually introduced to the mechanized systems that defined the surrounding farms, a transition that would prove to be both challenging and enlightening. Upon arriving at Camp Algona, the POWs were greeted with a landscape that was foreign yet intriguing. The camp was a mix of rigid structure and unexpected freedom. While the barracks were uniform and the daily schedules meticulously planned, the open fields beyond the fences symbolized a world of opportunity and discovery. For many of the POWs who came from rural backgrounds, the sight of vast American farmlands was both familiar and alien. They had expected to see rustic farms similar to those in Germany, but instead they encountered a level of agricultural sophistication that was both impressive and bewildering. The transition from familiarity to the unfamiliar was marked by the POWs' exposure to advanced agricultural machinery. Tractors, once a rarity in their native villages, were now ubiquitous, their engines roaring with efficiency and power. Harvesters moved through the fields with precision, their operators, often young men not much older than the POWs themselves, demonstrating a mastery over the equipment that was both impressive and intimidating. The sound of machinery became a constant backdrop, a reminder of the industrial prowess that defined American agriculture. The American farmer, a man of middle age with a pragmatic demeanor, provided the POWs with an orientation on their first day of work. His sun-weathered face and calloused hands spoke of years spent in the fields. He explained the workings of the machinery, emphasizing the importance of safety and efficiency. There was no room for error, he noted, as the machinery required both respect and understanding to operate effectively. The teenage boy, presumably his son, stood by with an air of confidence, a testament to the generational knowledge passed down in this mechanized world. The young boy's presence was a poignant reminder of the continuity of tradition and the relentless march of progress. The POWs, particularly those with agrarian backgrounds such as the Bavarian prisoner, found themselves comparing this industrialized approach to their own experiences in Germany. On Bavarian farms, the pace of work was dictated by the rhythm of nature and the capabilities of horse-drawn plows. Here, however, the machinery dictated the pace, transforming vast fields in a fraction of the time. The Bavarian prisoner often found himself lost in thought, pondering the implications of such efficiency. It was a reminder of the vast differences in resources and priorities between the two nations, a reflection of the broader economic disparities that had, in part, fueled the conflict they were now embroiled in. As the days progressed, the POWs learned to operate the machinery under supervision. Their initial hesitance gave way to a cautious competence, though the underlying cultural and technological differences remained a source of contemplation. The Bavarian prisoner, who had spent his life on a family farm reliant on traditional methods, observed these changes with a growing awareness of the broader implications. This was not merely a difference in tools, but a fundamental shift in agricultural philosophy, a shift that mirrored the industrial might of the nation they now found themselves in. It was a realization that the world was changing, and with it, the very nature of farming and food production. The mechanization of American agriculture was underpinned by a complex system of economics and infrastructure. The farmer explained that much of the machinery was acquired through credit, a concept familiar yet distant to the POWs whose families operated on a more immediate subsistence level. Cooperatives played a significant role, allowing farmers to pool resources and share the burdens of large-scale farming. This network of support highlighted a level of organization and community involvement that was systemic rather than personal. It was a revelation to the POWs, who were accustomed to the self-reliant, insular nature of their own farming communities. The POWs' participation in this agricultural system was framed by the agricultural labor contracts that governed their work. These contracts, negotiated by the military authorities and local farm cooperatives, outlined the terms of their employment, wages, and working conditions. Although the POWs were compensated with a nominal wage, the experience provided them with valuable insights into the economic structures that supported American agriculture. They learned about supply and demand, market fluctuations, and the impact of global events on local farming, lessons that were as eye-opening as they were unexpected. Educational programs were also a key component of the POWs' time at Camp Algona. These programs, designed to prepare them for repatriation and reintegration into post-war Europe, covered a range of topics from language and cultural studies to technical skills. The exposure to modern agricultural practices was intended to equip them with a broader understanding of industrialized farming, a knowledge they could potentially apply upon their return to Germany. The classes provided a welcome distraction from the monotony of camp life, offering a sense of purpose and hope for a future beyond the war. Despite the structured environment and controlled interactions, the presence of the POWs had a notable impact on the local communities. The labor they provided was essential to maintaining agricultural productivity during the war, filling a void left by American men who had been conscripted into military service. This interdependence fostered a complex relationship between the POWs and the local population, characterized by both mutual reliance and underlying tension. Some locals viewed the POWs with suspicion, while others recognized their humanity and extended gestures of kindness. Over time, small acts of goodwill bridged the cultural divide, creating an unexpected camaraderie amid the uncertainty of war. The broader implications of this cultural exchange were not lost on the Bavarian prisoner. His experiences on the American farm had fostered a realization that transcended the immediate context of wartime labor. The mechanization of agriculture was a reflection of a civilization that prioritized efficiency, scale, and technological advancement. This realization was both awe-inspiring and sobering, as it underscored the disparity between the traditional agrarian lifestyle he had known and the industrial future that lay ahead. It was a reminder that the world was changing, and with it, the roles and expectations of those who tilled the land. As the autumn of 1944 progressed, the POWs continued their work, each day bringing them closer to the inevitable conclusion of their time at Camp Algona. The war, with its shifting fronts and uncertain outcomes, remained a distant yet ever-present backdrop to their daily routines. The knowledge and experiences they gained during their time in Iowa would, in many ways, shape their perspectives and contribute to their reintegration into a post-war Europe that would soon be grappling with its own transformations. They had been given a glimpse of a future that was both daunting and exhilarating. The story of the German POWs at Camp Algona reflects a unique intersection of war, culture, and technology. It highlights the transformative impact of industrialized agriculture on individuals and communities, as well as the broader themes of adaptation and resilience in the face of change. The experiences of the POWs serve as a microcosm of the larger historical forces at play during this period, offering insights into the complexities of cultural exchange and the enduring legacy of mechanization. In their interactions with the land and its people, the POWs discovered a shared humanity that transcended the barriers of language and nationality. The Bavarian prisoner, along with his fellow POWs, left Camp Algona with a newfound awareness of the world beyond their own borders. Their time in Iowa had exposed them to a different way of life, one defined by innovation and progress. As they prepared for the eventual journey back to their homeland, they carried with them not only the skills and knowledge acquired during their stay, but also a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of nations and the forces that drive societal change. The camp had been a crucible of sorts, forging in them a resilience and adaptability that would serve them well in the uncertain days to come. In the end, the story of the German POWs in rural Iowa is not merely a tale of captivity and labor, but a testament to the power of exposure and experience in shaping perspectives and fostering growth. It is a narrative that underscores the enduring impact of cultural and technological exchanges, reminding us of the complex interplay between tradition and modernity in the ever-evolving tapestry of human history. As the POWs departed, they left behind a legacy of understanding and exchange, a reminder of the capacity for transformation and connection even in the most unlikely of circumstances. As the crisp and colorful days of autumn unfolded at Camp Algona, a unique part of history was being written in the heart of rural Iowa. The German prisoners of war, POWs, interned there, found themselves gradually settling into a routine that was at once both familiar and unsettling. Their forced labor on American farms was a daily reminder of the mechanized efficiency that epitomized U.S. agriculture during the mid-20th century. Each morning, as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the prisoners were assembled and escorted from their Spartan barracks to waiting trucks. These vehicles transported them to various farms scattered across the expansive and fertile Iowa landscape. Under the ever-watchful eyes of military guards, the POWs were integrated into an agricultural system that was both alien and strikingly impressive. The sight of vast fields stretching endlessly toward the horizon was a constant revelation for these men. Many of them hailed from rural areas in Bavaria, Saxony, and other regions of Germany, where small-scale farming was the norm. They were accustomed to a reliance on manual labor and the power of draft animals. In stark contrast, the American farms they encountered operated with an impressive array of equipment that seemed to embody the very essence of industrial progress. Tractors, combine harvesters, and intricate irrigation systems functioned with a precision that seemed almost magical to the uninitiated. These machines belied the complexity of their operation, moving gracefully across the fields with an efficiency that was mesmerizing. A particularly vivid image that stayed with the POWs was that of a local teenage farm boy. With the sun glinting off his sunburnt skin, he deftly maneuvered a tractor across the sprawling fields, adjusting its settings with the kind of practiced ease that only comes from years of familiarity. To the POWs, this young man was more than just a symbol of this new world. He was a living embodiment of its possibilities. His confidence and competence with these machines elicited a mixture of admiration and introspection among the prisoners. For the Bavarian prisoner, whose life had been shaped by the unpredictability of weather and the toil of manual family labor, the mechanized processes he observed were a groundbreaking revelation. They represented a different civilization, one that seemed to prioritize technological advancement and economic scale over traditional methods of farming. The American farmer, who managed the operations with a pragmatic and no-nonsense approach, often took time to explain the intricacies of agricultural credit and cooperatives to the curious POWs. His explanations highlighted a system where financial instruments facilitated access to advanced machinery, enabling farmers to scale their operations and significantly increase productivity. This concept of acquiring equipment through credit was largely unfamiliar to the German prisoners, who were more accustomed to the constraints of personal resources and communal farming practices. The idea that one could leverage financial systems to expand agricultural potential was both novel and transformative for them. The POWs' labor on these farms was governed by agricultural labor contracts that outlined their roles and responsibilities. These contracts, negotiated between the military and local farm owners, ensured that the prisoners were treated in accordance with international regulations set forth in the Geneva Convention. The work, though demanding and tiring, offered the POWs a semblance of normalcy amidst the uncertainties of their wartime captivity. More than just physical toil, it provided them with insights into the industrial scale of American agriculture, a perspective that would linger in their minds long after their repatriation. As the harvest season progressed, the prisoners began to appreciate the logistical prowess that underpinned American farming. Massive storage silos, towering over the landscape, filled with grain and produce, stood as testaments to the efficiency and foresight of the system. These towering silos, capable of holding thousands of bushels, ensured that the agricultural bounty could be preserved and distributed as needed, minimizing waste and maximizing profit. For the Bavarian farmer among them, accustomed to storing produce in modest barns and dealing with the limitations of spoilage, the scale of these operations was both awe-inspiring and daunting. The broader implications of this mechanization were not lost on the POWs. Many began to ponder the role that such technological advancements would play in the post-war world. The Bavarian prisoner, in particular, reflected on the ideological shifts that would be necessary for Germany to embrace a similar model of agricultural efficiency. The war had shown that industrial might was as crucial on the battlefield as it was in the fields, and the lessons learned in the fertile soil of rural Iowa would be pivotal in shaping the future of German agriculture. Interactions between the POWs and the local communities continued to evolve in unexpected and heartening ways. While initial encounters were marked by suspicion, fear, and wariness, a gradual understanding emerged over time. Some locals began to recognize the prisoners not as enemies, but as fellow farmers caught in the turmoil of global conflict. This recognition fostered a tentative camaraderie, with occasional exchanges of farming techniques and shared experiences over a cup of coffee or a hearty meal. Such interactions were a testament to the universal language of agriculture, bridging cultural and ideological divides that seemed insurmountable at first. Educational programs at Camp Algona aimed to prepare the POWs for their eventual return to Germany. Classes on democratic values, coupled with vocational training, sought to equip the prisoners with the skills and knowledge necessary for reintegration into a post-war society. These programs also expose the POWs to American cultural norms, offering them a glimpse into the social fabric of the nation that had become their temporary home. From learning about the American political system to understanding the nuances of baseball, these experiences were designed to broaden their horizons. As the autumn leaves began to fall, signaling the approach of winter, the POWs continued their work with a deepening sense of purpose and reflection. The experiences they garnered in the fields of Iowa were transformative, reshaping their understanding of agriculture and its place in the modern world. For the Bavarian prisoner and his compatriots, the realization that they were not merely witnessing a more efficient system, but an entirely different civilization, was profound. It was an insight that would resonate with them long after they returned to their homeland. The war, with its demands and devastations, had inadvertently facilitated a cultural exchange that would have lasting repercussions. As the POWs labored alongside the American farmers, they absorbed lessons that transcended the immediate context of their captivity. These lessons would accompany them back to a Europe on the brink of reconstruction, influencing the agricultural practices and policies that would emerge in the aftermath of the conflict. The story of the German POWs in rural Iowa is a narrative of adaptation and resilience. It underscores the transformative power of exposure to new ideas and systems, illustrating how individuals can navigate the complexities of change and emerge with a broader understanding of the world. As the prisoners prepared for their eventual repatriation, they carried with them not only memories of their time in captivity, but also insights that would shape their futures and the futures of their communities. The tale of mechanized agriculture and its impact on the POWs at Camp Algona is one of historical significance. It highlights the intersection of war, culture, and technology, offering a unique perspective on the human capacity for growth and adaptation amidst the challenges of a rapidly changing world. As the POWs left the fields of Iowa, they did so with a renewed awareness of the possibilities and responsibilities that lay ahead, both for themselves and for the broader landscape of post-war Europe. This chapter of history, though often overlooked, serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring impact of cross-cultural exchanges, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. As the final days of autumn descended upon Camp Algona, the German POWs prepared for their eventual departure. The camp, which had become a temporary microcosm of cultural exchange and adaptation, stood as a testament to the complexities of human interaction during times of conflict. The daily routines, once marked by unfamiliarity and apprehension, had transformed into a rhythm of labor and learning that left an indelible mark on the prisoners and the local community alike. The POWs' exposure to American mechanized agriculture provided them with invaluable insights into industrial efficiency and economic scale. These lessons, absorbed through the toil of harvests and the hum of machinery, would accompany them back to a Europe poised for reconstruction. The Bavarian prisoner and his compatriots realized the significance of these experiences, understanding that the post-war world would demand new approaches to agriculture and industry. This awareness, coupled with the skills and perspectives gained during their time in Iowa, equipped them with the tools needed to navigate the challenges of a rapidly changing global landscape. For the local farmers and communities, the presence of the POWs had been a reminder of the ongoing war and its far-reaching impacts. The labor provided by the prisoners was essential to maintaining agricultural productivity, yet their contributions extended beyond the fields. The POWs became part of the local narrative, their stories intertwined with those of the farmers who had guided them. This shared history fostered a sense of mutual understanding and respect, transcending the initial barriers of suspicion and fear. As the POWs boarded trains for their journey back to Germany, their departure marked the end of a unique chapter in the history of rural Iowa. The legacy of their time at Camp Algona would persist, influencing the agricultural practices and cultural exchanges that followed. It was a story of adaptation, resilience, and the enduring power of exposure to new ideas, a testament to the transformative potential of cross-cultural interactions in the most unlikely of settings. In the broader context of post-war reconstruction, the experiences of the German POWs in Iowa served as a microcosm of the changes sweeping across the globe. The mechanization of agriculture, emblematic of industrial progress, became a symbol of the potential for growth and innovation. The POWs, having witnessed these advancements firsthand, returned to their homeland with a renewed sense of possibility and a commitment to fostering similar transformations in their communities. Ultimately, the story of the German POWs at Camp Algona is one of historical significance, illustrating the complexities and opportunities inherent in cross-cultural exchanges during times of conflict. It serves as a reminder of the enduring capacity for human growth and adaptation, even amidst the challenges of a rapidly evolving world. As the POWs left the fields of Iowa, they carried with them not only the knowledge and skills acquired during their captivity, but also a vision of a future shaped by understanding, cooperation, and progress.